Hi, this is Nilankur and you are watching Herald Cafe. In this program we talk to various eminent personalities of Goa, and today we have Dr. Savia Viegas. She is the curator of the exhibition called Indian Madonna by Angelo Da Fonseca.
There are lots of Christian themes that he starts with in the early days of his career.
Hello, Dr. Viegas. Thank you and welcome in this show of Herald Cafe. It's a great exhibition that you have put it up. I've got few questions about the exhibition. First, I want to ask you, it's a great idea to include students in this creative process and tell them the different cultural features of mother and a daughter, and through Angelo Fonseca. How did this idea came up about including students?
I've been first a college teacher, professor. Then I have run a nursery when I came back to Goa. And in my academic research also, I've worked with museum audiences. So people's reactions to art are very important for me. And when I came to Goa and I realized there was an apathy, people did not even read their own writers, did not know the names of their artists. I was shaken, my being was shaken. Because what is the point of calling yourself a Goan when you don't recognize the high points of your own inheritance and heritage? So when I went doing my research on Angelo Da Fonseca, I was trying to trace his house. And I went on asking, which is the house of Angelo Da Fonseca, or did you know Angelo Da Fonseca? So in one of the houses, a woman with curry stains on her dress, she came to me and she said, when she opened the door, she said, "Huncho Angelo Fonseca zai tuka bae, tuka tailor zai, ya baker zai." So then I said, you have to create an interface of the young with their traditions. And when this idea of the exhibition came up, it sprung on me that this was the best way. It was a theme that children could relate to. Everybody loves the Madonna. Everybody loves the mother. Everybody loves the queen. Everybody loves the earth. And everybody loves the community worker mother like Mother Teresa. And everybody loves the mother goddess. So why not get the young people to paint their idea of the mother in these forms, you know? And the idea was agreed by the Jesuits, and then we launched a tornado of action. We called school students. It did not pick up till November, and we were very afraid that it would not take off. But somehow everything fell together. We ordered our canvases, the students came and listened and put their fingers and their brains to work.
And Dr. Xavier, you have met him in person in Carmona.
Yes.
And how is the experience of meeting him, seeing him draw? And I think he's the only artist who got a knighthood from Pope and got some special recommendation from Pius XII.
Yes, Pius XII. Yes.
Tell us about that.
Growing up as an 8-year-old, I would hear his name ricocheting across, because we had a neighbor who was his niece and they were of the same age, because he was the 17th child and she was the daughter of the eldest daughter, Helena. And she would say, "Angelo Fonseca ose kurta, Angelo Fonseca toshe painting kurta, to Pap Saibak Madam koita." So it was a figure that was larger than life in my head, you know, because I had to imagine Angelo Da Fonseca because he didn't live there, but he came on vacations with his wife and his daughter. And that was the time I would wait for a peek, you know. He was a quiet man, did not really indulge much. He would be always sitting in the chair But I saw him once painting his niece, Alice, her name was. And that was the time that it really struck me that there was something special about that movement, that man, and that particular occasion which I was witness to. It's amazing that, you know, for us, Pope Pius and all were figures that were almost in the clouds.
Yes.
And here was a man who had met him. And at that time, Goa had a monoculture, Christianity, at least in the south.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, you couldn't help dreaming about it, you couldn't help thinking about it, you couldn't help imagining it. Because, you know, kids of my generation growing up at that time, you had a lot to imagine because you did not have a TV, you did not have a phone, and you did not have the culture that we have today. And I'm very grateful for that. So when I grew up, I wanted to know what drove him, what created this in him, that, you know, he was knighted, that he did such wonderful work. And that journey began almost a decade, 2 decades earlier,
yes,
when the exhibition, for his centennial exhibition took place. But the idea did not fructify till 2010. When I got the IFA grant, I started researching. But I still was not clear on what was the real picture. And that happened only in the last 5 years, when my own understanding of Angelo's work is more fine-tuned. I'm more conversant with what he did, why he did, and how he did. And I'm very grateful for that.
Talking about that, the documentation in India is very poor, and oral traditions are there. And now you said, who's the Angelo Fonseca looking for the baker or the tailor, that kind of thing. What was your primary or secondary sources, you know, to find out about him?
I went around talking to a few of the relatives who were still alive. The second thing, a lot of the work came from books that the Herald Center had written. Then looking at his original paintings, there was a lot of documentation in the Herald Center because Father Heras was a supporter of his work. In fact, he gave him grants to develop a pan-Indian landscape in his paintings. So he would give him a grant to travel to Kashmir, a grant to travel to Delhi, a grant to travel to somewhere else, so that he would bring India into his paintings. And at one level, there are lots of letters between Heras and him, Angelo Da Fonseca, between Celso Constantino and Angelo Da Fonseca. There are letters from other Jesuits to Angelo Da Fonseca, which offer you a very rich picture of the times.
The whole arc.
Yeah, the whole arc of development. Also, why the papacy was interested in visual culture that represented, represented the colonies, indigeneity, as you say. Why? Why did they want the Indian mother figure wearing sari to enter the church? And then you realize a lot of experiences that were happening in the Second World War, First World War, Second World War, the development in arts itself, where the image was fragmenting, and they wanted the Christian narrative to remain whole. Therefore, when Angelo Da Fonseca goes to Europe and has exhibitions in London, has exhibitions in Glaxo, has exhibitions in Ireland, people are saying perhaps Asia can offer the purity of the image, because we had not suffered the devastation of the First and Second World War. True. We did not suffer the horror of the whole Nazi debacle. So we were, even though we were fighting our own battle for for independence, it was not as devastating as what had happened to Europe. So all this kind of I could get from letters that came in newspapers. I could get on some coverage on his conferences, and a lot from his wife Ivy and his daughter. His daughter was also my age, she couldn't remember much, but Ivy had a phenomenal memory. Then also I did a lot of researching at Shanti Niketan, and that helped me put the picture together. But there are also some very important books written on the Vatican, which allowed me to source that. And I think Celso Constantini in that was a very important figure.
And I hope all these are included in your upcoming book.
Yes, it is.
And I would like to know more about the book. I heard that it's coming up in May 2023.
Yes, yes.
And is it an Indian publisher?
Yes, it's an international publisher,
okay,
as well as an Indian publisher, but I can't tell you,
okay,
because
right,
I've sworn an oath of secrecy.
Yes.
But till it comes out, maybe
yeah,
I can, after I sign on the dotted line,
yeah,
as they say, I will declare it wide
yes,
and clear.
We are waiting
so and so,
eagerly.
yeah, but it's an international house.
Yeah.
It's going to be a book with a lot of black and white pictures, because I think his art has not really been beautifully brought out in any book. And more important is, it's not enough to call him a great artist. I think there's a lot of depth to his work. The Indian picture, if you look at, the little nuances of the independence movement in India, which he captures. And while the narrative is Christian, there's a whole landscape that is telling you of the ferment that is taking place in India. Downstairs there's a picture of Santana leading Mary to the temple, which is a very Christian image. It's a mystery from one of the mysteries of Christianity, but you realize it's dated 1954. That's the time when the states were being divided on the basis of language.
Yes.
Okay, so a young girl being led into the precincts of a temple, Goa, Mother India. You can read a lot into there are several subtexts, which, because he was painting for a Christian audience, he did not expose very cleverly. But there is, you can read the subtext maybe 70 years from then and understand that there was a depth to him, there was a sublimity in his paintings, there was a depth to the artistic language that he spoke and the subtext that he created. So if you could read, you can read. It's about looking and seeing the other.
I was hearing your talk right now about how he was influenced by Abaninda Roy and a Bengal school of art, revivalism. Jamini Roy. It has, in this exhibition we could see all that, the traces of him.
Not only Jamini Roy, but he was influenced by Abdul Rahman Chugtai, who later on migrated to Pakistan. But in the paintings of the early period, you can actually see the influence of Abdul Rahman Chugtai. In fact, for me it was such a wonderful thing to see that line, that kind of dreamy stances, that kind of very poetic figures absorbed in themselves. That was the language of A.R. Chugtai's painting. Then Eric Gill, then Modigliani. If you look at the first painting, it has a Modigliani flaw, like women are always shown with distended shoulders. So also you find that in another painting he is showing the lines of Eric Gill. Then somewhere the frontality of the Virgin Mother, again it comes from Jamini Roy, those straight lines, pure colors,
and the
all
eyes.
that, the eyes, they come from Jamini Roy. Similarly, there are several other influences which pulsate in his work, but his most beautiful contribution was the line. Like there's an exhibition report of 1934 in the newspapers, which says that he had a line of one of the European painters. So there is an influence that comes time again from different painters, but he's such a clever artist that you find that all this gets subsumed by the greater idea of art and the Christian narrative imagery that he is putting through.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And this is a great exposure to a Goan artist, to the Goan audience. I hope the Goan people will come and see this exhibition. This exhibition is on till March 31st. It's starting today on December 6th at Xavier Historical Research Center and curated by Dr. Savia Viegas. Thank you all for watching us.